Tell me about the person that had metal in their body.
Well, they this particular person fell on a grenade or something of that nature, and it blew off his shoulder, basically, his entire right hip. He had basically no knee. The ankle was shredded. He went through countless surgeries. Now, the reason why I know this is because my dear friend that knows this gentleman, she is a medical doctor at a prestigious hospital there in Topeka, Kansas. So she has verified this. It's medically verified. He had a plastic insert for a shoulder, but he made his way up, and I turned as I was ministering to someone. Here he was leaning on this walker, and of course my heart just went out to him. And when I reached out my hand, all of a sudden I felt the weight of this person on my right shoulder, which when it comes time to in ministering of healing the miraculous, I have this wonderful, what I term strength angel, that leans upon my right shoulder. And when I touched his right shoulder, I feel a fireball. And when I sense a fireball in my hand, I know that's the workings of miracles. And instantaneously, the plastic disappeared, and he received brand new bone and brand new shoulder. And then,
yeah, but what about all that?
Then I didn't know what was wrong with them. And so I started speaking in perfect word of knowledge of the incident I see and the explosion that you were in. And God began to show me the shrapnel areas. And then as I went down, the titanium hip replacement. And then as I went down his right hip, all of the metal spurted out of his skin, and then when it got to his ankle, it spurted out, landed on the carpet. He started dancing in it. He hadn't walked in a decade.
What about that mutual friend that was a medical doctor?
The medical doctor took her hand. She was, analyzing it. She's a medical doctor. She's a great woman of God. And she put her hand down on that nasty stuff, and it covered her hand. And she put it up to her nose, and it smelled like, an old battery, rancid battery, that's, gotten old, that acid smell. And she was overtaken, and she was the one that took him to the hospital the very next day, got it all MRI'd, and he's perfectly normal, perfectly whole, to God's glory and honor.
I'm with Dr. James Maloney here, and we're having such a wonderful time. I'm glad that you decided to be with us right now, because, James, tell me about the person, the man without a tongue.
Well, it was in a very large conference in Portland, Oregon, and he came up, and I had some words of knowledge and discernment, and I said, "How are you doing?" And he couldn't speak, muffling sound. And I said, "Excuse me." And then his wife said, "Well, he doesn't have a tongue." And not only that, his teeth were turned inward, flat. I said, let's just look up to the Father. And immediately when I said that, I entered into a flash, like a mosaic picture of him with big white pearly teeth, perfect teeth in his mouth, smiling. And I said, "God's doing something now. Put your finger." I just saw like the finger of God go in his mouth. So I said, "You just in faith," I don't know why I told him to do this, "stick your own finger in your mouth and see if you feel anything there in the back." He was born with no tongue. And then when he pulled out his finger, this big tongue came out.
Did you see it just come right out?
Yeah, 1,000 people saw it. And so Sid, he gave testimony going around, sticking his tongue out at everybody, waggling his tongue.
That's as funny as the guy I know that smiles like this.
And overnight, his teeth were restored, so the next night he had brand new white pearly teeth.